Good evening. It's Monday, September 30th, 2024. Welcome to episode 81 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. And we had jumped on there at our regularly scheduled time at 5 p.m. And I had a technical difficulty. I screwed up. And, you'd think I'd have this figured out after 81 times now, but suffice to say, it's not always perfect, right? So had to reload the entire thing, but we are back now. And thought we'd jump on tonight and, have a few things to say and some topics we want to bring up and discuss. And it's interesting. It's kind of a real feel of fall out there. It's probably about 100 degrees here, but the winds are blowing out of the north, which is pretty typical this time of year. And one of the things that was kind of, I don't know if it's unique or a sign of the times or just kind of, it almost makes you kind of feel a little sick, at least it does me. But last, I guess it was the day after our last live stream, I wound up going down to Walmart and they're rolling out the Christmas stuff, man. They got like the whole thing all decked out with Christmas stuff. And it's just like, does this thing ever like get, it's always seemingly getting earlier. Would you not agree, Rebecca?
I would agree. Before you would see a little bit of Halloween stuff, which I mean, now you see just kind of an aisle that's got some costumes and some candy, but obviously we're past, or no, actually we're not past Halloween. We're in September, but it will go away rather quickly and it will almost brush right over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It will just go from what little you see of Halloween straight into Christmas.
Yeah, I know that's their big time of the year. They're really pushing, the retailers are really pushing to, sell. That's their big money maker. But God, it's almost sickening. You've got 3 months. It was 3 months to the day when I walked in. It was actually the 26th when I walked in, but 3 months ahead of Christmas and they're already just stocking the store with just jingle bells, so it's kind of ridiculous. But good evening, London. How are you this evening? And Bill Warner in the house. Good to see you guys.
Hello to everyone.
Yeah, I guess all of my Halloween decorations I put out a month ago. So I'm here bitching about putting stuff out too early. And I had my Halloween pumpkins and corn stalks out a month ago. So at least now I'm actually in the season. So that's pretty cool.
I'm warming up to the idea of getting Halloween things out, my little pumpkins. However, they're not specific to Halloween. They're more a fall type of decoration. So they're easily left out for Thanksgiving.
Sure. Yeah. This north wind, again, this is also our time of year for natural disasters. And we've had a lot of damaging and destructive wildfires that have come through and done their thing this time of year. So we are prime for something to come through somewhere in Northern California over the next couple of days. The winds aren't extreme, but they're definitely, humidities are down, temperatures are up, and the winds are out of the north. And that always means a much drier air condition. And when you have that, you have a much higher increased risk of fire. So it had me thinking how, as a species, we are very much in the way of Mother Nature. And whether it's earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, or any of these kind of occurrences, unfortunately, when that happens and you place communities in the path of what Mother Nature wants to do, there's going to be destruction. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that our thoughts aren't with those folks who've been dealing with the most recent event over on the East Coast. Hopefully, those people can somewhat start to get a little reprieve and start putting their lives back together. But it's a common occurrence. We all have to deal with certain things, whether it affects us over here on the West Coast or somewhere else. Again, our thoughts are with those folks. And I was completely in the dark about it until this afternoon, quite honestly. I didn't even know anything about the hurricane and what had been taking place over there, but I think it's been going on for a number of days. We've been a little bit media dark this past week. We took a trip down to Sonoma County where I was, involved in a training weekend with my running activities. And, it was certainly nice to get away. I just love being able to actually sometimes unplug, and it's really important that you find the time to somehow do that, in your lives, because we all seemingly get so consumed with the daily news and the comings and goings of what's happening out there, and it can actually kind of be, it can be unhealthful. So if you can actually just find something that you enjoy and do that for a couple of days and put your cell phone down and tune out, allow your your loved ones to be able to get a hold of you or whatever, but just put that bullshit down and walk away from it. And, you're not going to be any worse for wear if you don't know what's happening on the other side of the country. And again, our thoughts are with those folks. That sucks for them, but, it's not directly impacting us. Did you even know anything about it?
Well, when we were driving home, we heard a little bit about it on the radio. So that was the first of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't listening to it.
Yeah,
you might have heard it. I didn't even know anything about it. But again, that sucks.
So for me, I was actually kind of holding down the fort with our dog, who is not extremely athletic. And Eric got to do his training. But I was happy to see my mother-in-law. She came up and visited with me for most of the day. She stayed, and that was pleasant. That gave me some company.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, always great to see, see family. And it was a nice surprise to see Mom come up. So let's see here. Bill Warner says that, please pray for the people, on our side of the country who have suffered huge losses to, the hurricane that's going on over there right now. That's so important. It's important also to have people around you that you're able to tap into and that they can assist and help. And I know that the communities over there are going to be banding together and bringing what resources they can to bear for the people that are in need. I mean, that's just what people do. And there's always kindness in good people. And, whether it's what happens in a wildfire or an earthquake or, a hurricane, people are going to rise to the occasion. And I think that that's a fantastic testament to, the human spirit, because we hear so much about, the bad shit out there. And I think it's really easy to kind of lose faith in people and become somewhat distrustful, but you get to see the goodness in people when they come out and extend themselves beyond, for people like this.
It's unfortunate that it takes something like this to actually have people pull together and work together and drop their differences.
Yeah. I didn't realize Tennessee was that, impacted. I originally, I think I did hear about this, that, it was going to be a hurricane or whatever, going to be affecting Florida, which is, kind of par for the course this time of year. And that's something that they have to deal with from time to time. But it looks, like this has affected a lot more people, in a much broader way. And again, like I say, it's our thoughts are with them for sure. London says the images from Asheville are bad. Prayers to all involved. Yeah. That's what people need to be doing,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
and again, coming together as well, because prayers are important, but what's also important is doing something about it, like physically coming together and making it happen. And I know, again, that a lot of people are over there doing that. And that's a really, really big thing. So yeah, I guess let's just start it off. Rebecca, how are you this evening?
I am good. I'm good. We talked about this weekend and being able to visit with my mother-in-law while Eric was running. I did, however, on the following day, decide to go ahead and take our dog out for a little 3-mile run, and she hung in there. But when we got close to where our campsite was, she definitely was pulling me that direction.
Yeah.
She was done. And then that Sunday was a surprise because our mom showed up and visited for a short time with us too.
Mm-hmm.
That was all the good side. The bad side is we do have a place that we do sell eggs, but for the last couple weeks, the first time around, she sent me a text and told me that she wouldn't need any eggs for the next week. And this morning, I drove to drop off the eggs. The owner was there. However, she did not confront me, but did have somebody working in there that says, oh, by the way, we don't need any eggs. So that kind of leads me to believe that they're working out not purchasing eggs from us. What I don't like about it is that she doesn't physically say it to my face. I don't find that very courteous. If they don't want to purchase eggs, that's great, but please tell me.
Sure. Yeah, that's just a measure of courtesy that I think most people would expect and, obviously deserve. I think the communication that people sometimes fail to put forth is something that's lacking, but, people are afraid to confront others when it's maybe uncomfortable or they don't want to be inconvenienced and feel bad or whatnot. They just prefer not to say anything. I'm not exactly that person. I actually don't have a problem confronting people with regard to that. And, I guess we can talk about that a little bit more as we get into this, because I've got something that I wanted to mention about a comment that somebody had made. And I want to dig into that a little bit deeper. But yeah, it's just that whole unwillingness, particularly in this day and age. It seems like people are just so unwilling to have, a direct face-to-face confrontation because they're so used to being able to just either hang up on the phone or say some bullshit on social media, and then they don't have to stand behind it. They can hide behind whatever. And that's unfortunate, especially for a business owner, because, it doesn't leave a good taste in people's mouth.
It doesn't mind.
No.
So it makes it hard for me to want to purchase a meal from there. Not that I never will, but
it's a reciprocal effect of, doing business with people, and it's just you should be responsive and respectful when it comes to just having a dialogue with somebody. And if you can't do that, it says a lot about you as a person. And then, if you leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth, especially if you're somebody who's a business owner and you're looking to draw up business, understand that the word gets around, and, you never know who you're pissing off. You never know who that person's going to talk to and say, oh, well, those people are no good or whatever. And that's not what our intention is. I'm just saying that's how it works out there. So if you're somebody who's actually really trying to be an entrepreneur, if you're somebody who's really trying to build your business or your brand, you have to walk that line. And again, I'm going to talk more about that as we move forward. So
that particular situation, I may have triggered it in the fact that when we started the agreement was that.
You're talking about the egg carton thing.
I am talking about the egg carton.
You know what? If that's the issue, then they need to say that's the issue, and it's not anything you need to be worrying about, reading into. So again, we'll deal with the issue directly with her, but it's it's nothing you need to be thinking, oh, this is something that I did, because it just is what it is.
I don't know how she internalized it. I mean, she may have felt that.
Again, we're going to talk about that. We don't need to read more into it than is necessary, quite honestly, because I can't read minds, nor can you. We need to talk to her. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that people have a tendency not to be able to confront people when it's uncomfortable. And I'm not that person. I'm going to talk to her. And if you don't want to talk to her, I'll talk to her, or we can talk to her together. But that needs to happen. It's very important that you confront issues as they come up, so that they're not issues in the past, and you don't have to leave with questions on your mind regarding, well, I wonder if it's this, or I wonder if it's that. No, fuck that. We're going to talk about it, and then we can move on. Because again, I talked about it last week. When you don't put things to bed, it wastes mental energy, because then you're thinking about it. I learned this years ago when I was supervising inmates, because I would bring shit home when I would have a conflict with an inmate that I didn't resolve at work. And I would bring it home, and I'd find myself looking straight up at the ceiling at 3 a.m, going, fuck, I got to deal with that tomorrow. I couldn't sleep. And that's one thing that it teaches you, I became so much a better supervisor when I worked with criminals, because for one, you learn how to manipulate people with regard to what their talents are, and you get really good at reading people's intentions, right? You can just read body language, and you can read how the person's trying to play you. And so one thing I learned is never leave the gate, never leave camp. I vowed that I would never leave camp without confronting that inmate before I did. And then when you drive out of that gate, you had the upper hand, and you felt like it's resolved. I can move on. And so that's why I'm saying you don't sit there and stew over, well, it's maybe this or maybe that. It's not the way to handle business.
I'm not stewing over it. I'm just saying that she wasn't there. Her employee, I told her it was going to be a little extra because we were providing the cartons. So I didn't physically get to talk to her.
Sure.
I don't know. That could have rubbed her the wrong way. I don't know. But it did start after then.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that we're sitting here talking about something that we could just put to bed. But I know you brought it up, and we'll deal with it. Let's see. Yeah, London says the images from Asheville are all bad. Yeah, I haven't looked at anything, man. We don't have TV. We don't have some kind of connectivity with like Fox News or whatever. All that we get is clips that come up on the internet. And then if it's something that I think, oh, that's interesting, maybe I should validate that, see if it's any good, I look further into it. I start digging around or whatever if I have an interest. Otherwise, it's, I don't really get the news. I don't listen to the radio. I stopped listening to the radio years ago in my car because it was just all commercials and bullshit and politics. And at one point, I really just wanted to kind of step away from that because it can really oversaturate your mind and kind of corrupt you. And so I just found myself so much better when I was focused on other things and I didn't have to deal with, all the bullshit. I will say that I am kind of getting interested. I've been paying a little bit of attention to the election debacle that's about to ensue. I do have an interest in that. I think most people should have an interest in finding out which direction our country's going to go, because it's going in one direction or the other pretty dramatically. And so I think most people should have an interest in that. I certainly do. I don't know if I will have any sway other than just cast one vote, but it's sometimes fun to talk about it and at least be informed about what's happening out there, right?
Yes. And I actually would like to watch the debate tomorrow.
Oh, there's a debate?
The VPs.
Oh, okay. Walz and JD Vance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, let me see if I can get caught up here. Bill Warner says that Michelle, you must mean Nicole Sauce. Nicole Sauce is setting up a donation program for those in need. Yeah, that's really good. That's what community is all about, and I think that there's enough good people out there that are, willing to donate and contribute to people, especially if it goes through somebody who, I think the problem that most people have, I know that I'm a little bit this way, is that I don't really like donating to organizations like Red Cross and shit like that, because there's such big bureaucracies. You don't ever know where the money's going to go. You think, and you hope that it's going to the right people, but it's a lot of times going to pay for administrative costs and things like that. So yeah, the more local you can keep those sort of donation things, the better. So if she's doing something like that, then hats off, and, I'll look into it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that at the grocery store, they always ask you, if you would like to contribute or donate.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to, and then I thought, you know what, it just says donate. I don't know who I'm donating to, where it's going, what it's for.
Right.
And so I ended up stopping that.
Right. Yeah, that's an open-ended question with that kind of thing. And I don't like just giving my money to places I don't know that it's not getting to the right sources or the right people, Bill Warner also says that our local fire department is accepting donations of water and necessities to transport needed supplies. London says the pending port strike could be bad as well. I don't even know anything about that again. If stuff like that happens, obviously it's going to affect, supply chain and stuff. So along the lines of what everybody that I've been talking to in the community that I'm involved with, we're talking about the things that are going to keep you stocked up when those disruptions happen. We've been talking about that a couple of years now on this channel. We've been covering, preparedness, homesteading, topics like that. And, we've been saying a little bit at a time, just chipping away at it. We feel pretty good about where we are with regard to things, but we've been at it for a minute. And it takes a while for you to get to that point. Do we have all of our bases covered? Nobody does.
I would say no.
Nobody does. But, you can work and you can strive to get a little bit further and a little bit further each week. There's no need to panic. Unless, of course, you're living in an apartment in New York City and you don't have any preps at all. Then you should probably think about panicking. But most people have a little something put back. Most people are actually working in that direction. And if you are, just keep working at it. Don't get yourself all stressed out about this may happen or that may happen, because a lot of things are going to happen, and we just need to be able to be prepared as we can be and roll with the punches. Right. Mm-hmm. So, let's see. It says, I believe Nicole is focusing on Newport, Tennessee. Oh, wow. Both coasts have dock workers going on strike tomorrow. That could be a big fucking deal, man. Seriously, and people don't realize that until it happens. When ports close or truckers go on strike, that paralyzes things. And so depending on the length of any kind of disruption or shutdown in the ports, that could be really, really bad. And so again, not the, play doomsday sky is falling thing, but it's a reality. We're also interdependent on the system. And when the system breaks down, you are your own first responder. It's a cliche thing to say, but it's very, very true. And, with my background in emergency services for, more than 30 years, I realized that from a long time ago. And I think the average person thinks that, I'm going to call 911 and people are going to be there. Well, they may be there, and it may take them a while to get there. Or they might not get there in time. And if it's really bad, they might not come at all. Mm-hmm. So, these are definitely scenarios that people need to try to war game and think about. We had an issue this morning. Hey, Skanes girl, how are you? Good to see you this evening. Good to see you this evening. We had an issue this morning, and it was regarding communications were down. I think I'm not the only one that knows about this, because when we looked into it, they said there were like coast to coast, there was like, millions of people without cell phone coverage. And so that, again, it shows the vulnerabilities of people being able to get information and contact the people that's important to them. Right.
But it was odd because it wasn't everybody.
It wasn't everybody. Okay. So, for example, we have people that have the same carrier as us, the same, like a droid, and theirs was working, hers wasn't. Mine was working, hers wasn't. One of our daughters wasn't. My son's wasn't, but my other daughter's was. Yeah. And so it was a very sporadic and random occurrence. And I will say, you better have a plan. And I'm not saying we have all of our plans figured out, because there's the eventuality or the possibility that things could go really wacky, right? I mean, obviously the best form of communication is face-to-face with somebody, right? Then you're going to probably go to texts or whatnot, right? That's a very, an effective form of communication that most of us probably utilize on a regular basis.
If they can go out, but my phone wouldn't even allow that.
True. And then, of course, you can have your two-way communication with ham radio. You can either do it car to car or direct, simplex, if you will, or you can go through a repeated system, which is up and running. Let's just make the assumption that doesn't work. Then what do you do, right? If that goes down and you're, how are you going to contact the people that are important to you? And so this is actually something that we've discussed in our network of people here locally on what we would do. And one of the things that we've come up with is just to, we've assigned that we will contact 2 of our closest people, and we'll do so by either getting in our vehicle and driving, or if in fact there's, let's say, an EMP or something like that, where you don't have some kind of a vehicle to drive, I'll actually put on my fucking running shoes after things are taken care of here, and I'll go run to their houses. And so it'll be their responsibility over the course of the next 24 hours to contact another 2 people within the network. And then over the course of about 48 hours, we should be able to, upon reconvening yet again, get the information that we need with regard to who in our network is actually okay, or do they need assistance, or what have you. And so that's just one thing that we've done. But you need to be thinking about those things because that actually happened today. We initiated that protocol, and I got in my vehicle and I checked with people in our network, as did they. So it's important that you kind of establish those kind of, things up front and think about it out of the box, because it's great if you have a ham radio and shit, and it's in a Faraday cage, and you think that's going to protect you if you have an EMP or some CME or whatever, right? You think you're protected. That's what we all think. But what if it's not? You're back to Pony Express, man. Old school. And so it's important that you have those kind of conversations and discussions with people, maybe in your neighborhood. Maybe you're not even in a group, but maybe you have neighbors, and it might be a good talking point to just say, hey, it might be okay if we exchange phone numbers and, at least get text messages. And if something happens, we could, do it in this way, and try to establish those things, because I can almost assure you that a lot of other people are thinking this is something that they're probably thinking about maybe too. And maybe it just requires somebody initiating that contact and, establishing that. Because this is important shit, man. Because like I said, nobody's coming for you. And that's what these people in these places that are dealing with these hurricanes. I mean, time FEMA gets there, it's going to be like, a while. And that's where the local groups come into play. That's where the neighborhood watch type of things are very, very key and critical and important. And you need to try to establish those, well ahead of time. You don't need to be like trying to learn who your neighbors are, in a disaster, right?
Yeah, it definitely pays off to talk to them periodically and kind of just touch bases with them.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, it does. CB radio is great. But again, if the electronics are affected by something that has been suggested, like an EMP, maybe you have it protected. Maybe you have an EMP shield on your system. Maybe you've been able to do something to protect it in a way where it's not going to be damaged. But if in fact that's down, that's down. And so,
Mm-hmm.
So we got it sorted out.
We have,
No, go ahead.
I think you're probably going to say we have it set up, and we spoke about it before, that we've chose a specific vehicle that we've designated to put the.
We got an EMP shield on our motorhome, and the thought there is that could be a part of our bug out plan. And it is part of our bug out plan. Something happens to our house, at least we've got something else we can live in until we can get back up and running. And so it's good to have those types of contingencies. It's good to have those, at least thoughts that you're kicking around, how you're going to do it. That's the whole point of emergency planning. That's the whole point of, fire preparedness. What's your exit strategy? Where are you going to meet? What's your rally point? All of those things should probably be communicated and, at least discussed, because when shit goes down, that's not the time to discuss it. So, Yeah, things are going down over there on the other side. Yeah, Bill Warner says that supplies are being transported into Asheville by mule, literally. Well, yeah, that's maybe what it takes, right? Boat, whatever, it's people will find a way. And where there's a will, there's a way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Riley, good evening. Building an overland track. Yeah, that's good, man. If you can get something with points, plugs, cap and rotor, like 1964 and before, that doesn't have the electronics and stuff in it, then you're good to go from the standpoint of that EMP stuff, right? So
I think we were just listening to that today. Was it not?
You might have been hearing me say something about it because I wasn't listening to anything about that. I was talking to our daughter on the phone talking about it. That's where you heard it.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Well, I was eavesdropping.
You were listening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, also too, had to have a little warm and fuzzy feeling knowing that they're going to be probably shutting people's power off with this fire stuff. And we've got our solar system set up, so we won't be affected by that. But that's again something that will be going down here in Northern California. If the winds get any worse, they'll shut people's power off preemptively because PG&E doesn't want to have to pay for more wildfire insurance claims once communities get burned up. But that's what happens, man. You put communities in the path of Mother Nature, and Mother Nature's going to always win. Whether, again, it's a hurricane, earthquake, tornado, wildfire, we are the guests here. And, it's been that way for a long time. But, yeah.
That was her shake.
Yeah. So let's get to the weekly poll. And this brings up, it's also going to lead into a comment that I wanted to make. I'll do a little discussion on because I think that person didn't like this poll. They were put off by me asking a question that was a little more thorny than they wanted to entertain. And so, the weekly poll goes as such. It says, which one of these women is most unlikable? And 214 people cast their vote. And these women are decidedly polarizing. Okay. They are very polarizing figures. Some people love them. Some people just don't like them at all. And I put them up there for a reason because I wanted to see which one rose to the top. And it's no surprise which one rose to the top at all. I think most people, would have no problem realizing that Hillary Clinton won this walking away with 53% of the people saying that she was the most unlikable out of the four women I put up there. Next coming in at 21% was Kamala Harris, which actually was a little bit surprising to me. I would have flipped the order with the next in line, which was Nancy Pelosi, who got a pretty respectable 20% of the vote. And then lastly, coming in the fourth place, which again doesn't surprise me because she lends the appearance of being somebody who's not really divisive, not somebody who's made a living out of dividing people. And that would be Oprah Winfrey coming in at 7%. Okay. So, what do you think on that, Rebecca? Do you think that aligned with what you would have said, or how would you have come up with that? Where'd you fall in there?
Well, I am no fan of Nancy Pelosi's, not at all. I would have thought that Oprah, especially with, I don't know, you have to be listening to what's going on, but I kind of thought that Oprah would have gotten a little bit more, but I think that they're fairly in line with.
Yeah, I could have, done that poll in a different way. I could have said, which one of these women is most likable? But I chose to do it unlikable because they do come up on the list of, being somebody who's unlikable. When you look it up online, politicians that are most unlikable or whatever. And those are some of the ones that come to the top of the list. I could have easily done something that interjected people that weren't, all liberal. I could have done half conservative, half liberal, but see, then that would have probably fallen along partisan divide in this poll, because I think most of the people that probably listen to this broadcast are probably more conservative minded than liberal minded. And so it would have been pretty easy to see, where that would have fallen. But I was interested in this. It's not surprising to me, but
Not at all.
yeah, no. Do you think it's something that's divisive by me asking that?
It's not. It's a question. And so it's, someone's opinion of what they think, and you should have the right to have your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So no.
Yeah, well, clearly a lot of people did have an opinion on it, 214 people, and they decided to actually cast their vote. But I did have one comment, and that will be the Q&A for this week. It's more of a comment than anything, but let me see if I can get to it. It's on my phone. And let's see, just before I do that, let's see. Yeah, Bill says, my wife and I refer to it as the bitches back in town when it comes to Mother Nature. Yeah, she's not happy right now, man. Not over there. Yeah, it's too bad. I hate to hear that when people are losing everything that they've worked for, and then they got to start over and shit. And some people, they're at a stage in their life where that's just going to be a lot more difficult than if you were a little younger,
Yeah, it's absolutely devastating if, you're in your 70s or whatnot. And, it's everything. It's your world that you've basically collected and have with you. And
yeah, it's not even the material possessions, I don't think. I mean, especially when you get that old, because who gives a shit when you're 80 or whatever. It's like, okay, unless you've got like some family heirlooms you were going to give to somebody or whatever, they're just things. It's just the mere fact that your life's been disrupted, and now you have to go through this whole process. And at that age, who has the energy for it? I mean, our son lost his home like two years into having a new home. He'd lived there for 2 or 3 years or whatever, and he was in the process of remodeling it and all of that. And then, a fire comes through and fucking burns his house down. And that was devastating. But he's a young person that has his whole life ahead of him that he can rebuild. But imagine being somebody over there now who's like an old person. And so, yeah, it's affecting a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. And
it's not just the material things. It's also all of the memories, and especially if it's a family home that your kids grew up in, and you remember different events and whatnot, and
yeah,
and you lose that, much like your folks lost their home, and that was just devastating for your dad. He,
right.
had all of those memories.
Yeah. Unfortunately for them, they were gone by then. But again, he still looked at that like it was his place. He put so much there for being there 45 years, busting his ass out there on that place. So anyhow, I'll get to this comment, and this is from CS. It doesn't matter because it's just a bunch of letters and a number or something, but it says, I remember when your channel was about homesteading. I have no interest in playing games designed to divide. And, you're entitled to that opinion. This is how I responded to him, and I wanted to do so in a respectful way. I said, polls are about gathering information from those who wish to participate. And my polls are purely voluntary and not focused on who may be offended by them. And are certainly not with unity in mind. This channel is about homesteading and preparedness, and we discuss topics that may be controversial or considered harmful to some. I hope this explains my polls and the focus of this channel. Join us next week where we will discuss this poll and your comment. And it's kind of an interesting way to approach something, I guess. But, that's what you see as a content creator. You see people putting things out there kind of more or less in a passive aggressive way. And I think that they are trying to influence and persuade people to behave in the way that they want them to behave without actually, going the extra mile of trying to get a better result. But for me, this kind of tactic never works. And I can see it for what it is that, again, this person's trying to say, well, you should be doing homesteading. That's what I signed up for. How dare you say something that is divisive? And, I guess you have to ask the question, would they say that if I said it in a different way?
Or if it were different
different
people.
Different people. I mean, I've had polls on here talking about a lot of different things. And, I didn't really hear that form of criticism, which, maybe they were just silent at that point and they decided now was the time they needed to say something about it. But,
maybe it struck a chord.
Well, I don't know if it did or not. And honestly, I don't care. But I did want to talk about it because, there's a lot of people out there that are, thinking that, I can say something and it's going to impact the way others behave. And I'm here to tell you that that's not how this channel operates. And I don't really care, to be quite honest, if that person comes back or doesn't come back, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to be as authentic as I can be, and I'm going to speak from the heart. And that's why sometimes I might say a profanity, right? Because that's what you're going to get probably in real life in most cases. And so I don't want to try to give you this impression that I'm somebody that I'm not as much as possible, right? And so I just think it's important to do that. I understand why some content creators decide to withhold, that because it might offend people and they're trying to draw people in either to build their business or their brand or whatever. And that's entirely appropriate for them to do that, right? You don't want to offend people. You don't want to drive people away. But that's not really my interest, is worrying about who I'm offending. I'm actually looking to promote free speech. I'm looking to provoke thought and maybe interject a little bit of controversy along with,
And maybe the information that they give back could persuade you in a different direction. That's their right.
Yeah, it entirely could do that. It's almost like when I see people do this, I actually heard another content creator talking about this very thing, where people want to project this kind of passive aggressive form of communication so that they can get a certain, result on the other side. And it's like, well, what do you think's going to happen by you doing that? Do you think that I'm actually going to stop doing what I'm doing based on your comment? And I don't know, it's an interesting way to go, but I look at it like, I heard an interview a number of years ago, and this is what stuck with me, is it was from Reba McEntire, country singer. And she said that she had become so much of a caricature of herself, she couldn't even change her hair color without hearing it from her fans. She couldn't.
Or hairstyle.
Yeah. This is the way she was expected to be. And, this channel, I don't know if people have paid attention at all, but this channel started out as a hiking channel and it evolved into what it is now. And this podcast or broadcast is just kind of evolved organically, and we're going to talk about different things that interest us, and people want to, hang out and and share in that. That's cool. But I just find it interesting when people do that, don't you think George Strait might like to maybe show up at a concert with a ball cap and maybe a t-shirt? But he can't. He has to stand there like George Strait, like people expect him, with the hat, the fucking button-down shirt, the Wranglers all tight, right, and the boots. That's how he has to show up, and that's
However,
a business decision.
He has aged, and he still looks good dressed.
Oh,
like
the dude looks like a stud. He's a total stud. I mean, that guy he's amazing. I love George Strait. I'm not shit talking him. I'm just saying, like, you create this image of yourself, and that's what essentially, kind of content creators, a lot of them have to walk that line, because they're really looking at the whole building the business and not wanting to offend people. And so therefore they have to withhold certain things. And I'm just here to say that I'm not willing to do that. I may put out some polls that might rub some people the wrong way. And if it's not aligned with homesteading, stick around for maybe some homesteading when it comes back around, or go somewhere else. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Bill Warner, let me see what you got to say. He says, I'm 65, my wife's 74. We are just 2 years into building our dream farm. It's not an age issue, it's a mindset. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. Life is what you make it, and I wanted to talk about that as we kind of conclude this thing tonight. We're not there yet, but I wanted to talk about the American dream because it sounds like you guys have an idea what the American dream is, and you're working toward that. And I think that's an amazing thing. If, people know what they want and they're going to go out there and get it. So, hats off to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Homesteading is not harmful content. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I wore that sweatshirt this weekend.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's I don't know. I just I'm going to try to keep it as real as it can be, and as organic as it can be. And I'm not going to try to be as, well, I shouldn't say this or I shouldn't say that. Yeah, because people have choices. You have choices of where you can go, and if you don't want to be here, that's fine. I'm not going to try to walk a line to get more subscribers or get more people to like who I am. There's plenty of places to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
And I mean, you're here to hopefully listen to different opinions, either via the chat or what we're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, jump in, man.
And then weigh it however it strikes you.
Yeah. Participation. I mean, that's what this is about. It's like I say, if you want to join in and have something to say, then do it. Lots of politics. Workplace says no talk allowed, but sound out contribution request for their PAC. Yeah, that's okay. So I might want to, let's see, Prismatic Carnivore says, might want to take down the first 13-second live. You can hear you saying, what the hell is going on? What the fuck? Oh man, I know it's bad, man. I'm telling you, I'm a loose cannon. That's funny, man. I love it. Yeah. So where are we going with this, Rebecca? Huh?
You were talking about the
yeah, I was just talking about that person who made a comment, and again, it's their right to make that comment. It's their right to either like what we do or not like what we do. Most people, I think a lot of you have heard this phrase, but your mother probably told you, if you don't have anything nice to say, just
don't say anything at all.
Just don't say anything at all. But we're in this thing now where people think that they want to, that would have been much more well received by me if that person had reached out and given me a personal, I guess some input on a personal level. But it reminds me of this quote that I dug up, and the quote goes as follows, but it's more in line with what this person and how they responded in kind of that passive aggressive way. But it goes like this: if they can't privately address you, then understand their public criticism is only for attention. Don't take it personal. And so that's some very good advice for content creators. It's very good advice actually just in life, right? If people can't confront you directly and personally, then what's their motivation and what's the reason why they're doing it, right?
Right. I would use an example. I was putting a recipe up and I actually left out, I think, the temperature at which to cook.
Mhm.
And it was very sweet. There was a lady who had actually read that, but she sent me a personal message and just let me know that I left that out and it would be a little bit better. Instead of posting it where everybody could read it,
Mhm.
that wasn't,
Yeah.
she wasn't looking to call attention to herself. She was just letting me know. And that certainly would be the better avenue for people if they have an issue to personally speak to you and
Sure.
have a little back and forth.
Sure.
Otherwise, yeah, it just seems like they're kind of getting people to look at them. Or
Right. It goes back to, we had this episode a while ago where I talked about this person who, had issue with something on our property, and rather than dealing directly with us, they decided to post something on a neighborhood Facebook watch group bullshit thing, right? And therefore, they can have all the other people chiming in about this or that, and that's not the way you deal with things. You deal with things directly. And talking about the issue with the lady that we were selling eggs with, the actual best way to deal with that is, on one hand, you want to just kind of like, oh, fuck them, shine it on, right? But then again, you're leaving that hanging there. So it's best to confront the person directly. And one of the best tools that you have to do this is just to ask them, or state the obvious, state the facts. And it would go something like this: that just say, hey, I noticed that you haven't gotten eggs from us in the last 2 weeks. And then you go dead silent at that point. You don't say another word. You just look at them, because that's actual fact, and they know it's fact, and they're going to have to respond to it in one way or the other, which is either, oh, well, make up some bullshit, or give you the real reason. And that's a very important tool that all of us have to do, and it's very direct. And you can do that in your relationships. You can do that if you are a supervisor of employees. But I actually know supervisors of employees that should be able to do that, but they're uncomfortable doing that because people are uncomfortable with conflict. And, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about not dealing with things at the time. You need to deal with them so you can just put that shit behind you. And so that's what I would actually recommend doing with this lady. And
well, I did drive past when I went out to go to the grocery store to see if she was there, because I did want to address her.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't there. So
yeah, no, that's all you have to do. It would be like this with your employee. Let's say you're the boss and you want to deal with this person who's, doing something that you don't like. It could be as simple as this: hey, I've noticed that you've been late to work 3 times this week. And you just stare at them. And that awkward silence, you don't take it any further than just stating the facts, and then they're going to have to respond to that. And then it's going to be out there and it's going to be dealt with. And that's how you do it in life, in business, in all avenues of everything. And if more people did that, you wouldn't have a bunch of innuendo and a bunch of passive aggressive bullshit, right, happening behind the scenes with, oh, I thought you were this, but now you're this, right? No, I'm going to fucking be what I am, and you can either like it or not like it or go somewhere else.
But that's their choice.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. So anyhow, I want to get to Prismatic Carnivore's comments because I'm kind of intrigued by what he's written down here. It says, I have lost 100 pounds since January 1st, 2024, eating mostly carnivore. Acid reflux was the reason I went carnivore, and it was gone in less than 10 days. I have boundless energy with zero cravings, at peace. That's fantastic, man. Congratulations for one, taking control and responsibility for your own health. And it's a very difficult thing to do in the environment that we all find ourselves, which we have all this ultra processed bullshit that, food that's designed to get us hooked on. And we have those cravings, and we're eating things that are slowly poisoning us over years. And so, whatever the diet you're on, you can go full vegan and thrive. You can go full carnivore and thrive. There's a myriad of different people on different diets that are thriving because it works for them. And that's the most important thing that people need to understand about dietary choices, is that they're exactly that. They're your dietary choices and what's going to work best for you. What I have a problem with is when people get so fucking dogmatic about, oh, well, this is the way to do it. This is what's going to work. This is the best. That might be the best for you. That's cool, man. I support you doing that. That's amazing, and I'm glad you're having great success. I actually tried, not really carnivore, but I went to try to do the keto thing, and I was eating just meat and eggs and butter and all that stuff. And I can totally see what you're saying regarding the energy and the satiation, the satiety that you're going to get from eating that way. You don't have those crashes, and it's really great. Where it didn't work for me is just, I burn a lot of glycogen in my running. I need that, my glycogen stores to be topped off, and not only my liver and my muscles, because when I don't have that, I would have to really get myself completely fat adapted, and that's going to take a long ass time, and it's very painful to do that. I know that there's dudes that have done that, but even them, they still use strategic carbs in their running, so they're not like going completely off or whatever. They need less carbs when they're fueling their effort because they're better at fat oxidation, if that makes sense. They're more efficient fat burners. You gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody out there tried making the flatbread.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what they say. Let's see here. Bill Warner, I have to apply that very statement. I grew up towards my mother, and at times, Eric, something I have had to bite my tongue and say nothing. Yeah, man. Sometimes it's best sometimes not to say certain things around people because, it's not going to go well. So it's always best to just have discernment and know how to read the room. And I think a lot of people don't always know how to read the room and know when it's their time to talk or whatever. So, I agree with you. Prismatic Carnivore says that pre-diabetes gone, high blood pressure gone, back pain gone, no more wheezing either. I will not go back to the standard American diet. Good for you, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good for you. I tell you what, I feel pretty damn good because I haven't eaten any bullshit, man, in like almost 3 months, right? The last piece of bread I had was in June. And even before there, I went like a month without having any of that, any of that stuff. And it's all single ingredient food. It's all either real food, like whole foods, right? Fruit, nuts, meat, fish, poultry. We eat all that. And it's really good. And I feel fantastic.
Yeah. It's close to a Mediterranean diet. However, there are ingredients in those recipes that we leave out because they have either seed oil in them or something that we do not want to.
Yeah, no, none of that. We've been trying to just eliminate that. And I'll tell you what I don't have is I used to have a lot of inflammation in my hands. I would wake up in the morning and my hands would just fucking hurt, man. I couldn't even make a fist. And now it's like, I don't have that anymore. I just, my recovery from my runs is like, there's not the inflammation. And it's fantastic. So I know what you're saying, man. Dietary, it's a hard thing to do. It really is. It really is because you just, I like eating this way. And, it's but discipline takes hard work, right? So good for you, man. Okay. Let's see here. So the last thing we were going to talk about, but we're not there yet, is the American dream. And I wanted to kind of leave on a positive note, since a lot of times we wind up talking about things that are kind of like doom and gloomy. And I don't like to feel that way. I certainly didn't feel that way this weekend when we were not paying attention to anything. It was just amazing. And that's what I would, maybe suggest people try to do. Maybe this sounds a little foo-foo or whatever, but everybody has something that they actually really, really enjoy in life, right? Find that thing and make time for yourself in almost every day to do that, whether that's going out for a walk or maybe it's reading a book or just being in the moment, right? We hear that term thrown around a lot these days. Oh, I'm in the moment or whatever. And you don't see that a lot. You see everybody multitasking. You can't just go out for a run without having headphones or earbuds in. You can't be in the gym, of course, without your shit on. You can't just be doing what you're doing or actually going out to dinner with a person and not looking at your phone or whatever. So it's just important to just try to disconnect from that kind of thing, but also just, being in the moment and understanding like how amazing it is, right?
So I don't have earbuds.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm in the gym with you,
Mm-hmm.
I have to watch the young kids flexing and taking selfies of themselves. I enjoy that. I think it's hysterical.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty lame, but let's see here. Yeah, absolutely. No one showed up. Let's see. It says there's a funny thing for you to ponder. I have a neighbor who has fresh farm eggs in abundance posted on our local Facebook page that if you drive up to my house, I have eggs for free. Hey man, it's that time of year right now, but
I can relate.
Hit them up in like, January. There ain't going to be no free eggs to be seen, man. Everybody will be like, I need to go buy some eggs. But no, we'll be flushing eggs still because we've got layers that go all year. But I do have to process some birds out, man, because they're starting to.
Some of them out there looking kind of scraggly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some processed out.
Poor Eric asks, "What's to eat? I'm really hungry. What's to eat?"
I am,
and my standard answer is, "I've got some eggs."
I'll eat them too. Yeah, seed oils are the worst. My joints feel so much better all over my body from getting rid of the inflammation. That's good, man. I mean, anecdotally, that's seemingly something that's working for you. I've heard a lot of other people saying that that's the thing. I don't know what it is for me, but because I didn't do just one thing, right? That's how you learn what it is doing one thing for a period of time. I just cut off everything. I haven't had alcohol, anything. And so it's just eating really good quality food. And that seems to work for me. I like it. She doesn't like it because she has to cook a lot more, as far as preparation and stuff, but it's so much better.
This is very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Kimmy says, I agree. Sending a private message is better. Yeah. That's the way to do it, to communicate in that way. And then that way people don't feel like they're offended. You wouldn't want to approach somebody and, if you had an issue with something, you wouldn't want to do that in front of somebody's girlfriend, right? If I had an issue with some dude, I wouldn't want to go up and, hey man, that's never going to be well received. He's going to have to flex back. But you pull a dude aside and say, hey, look, man, I just wanted to get after you. You said this or whatever, and, I'd appreciate it. You come at somebody like that, it's going to be much better received. But somehow people have lost the ability and the touch on how to communicate effectively. And I'll tell you what, the internet sometimes isn't helping with, the messaging and all of that. But again, Kimmy, to your point, that is the better way to handle things you have an issue with, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's see. Bill says, I like the live broadcast because I have more freedom to build my circle. Yeah. 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 I hope, people are doing that. I hope people are out there trying to establish some kind of a relationship, not only with people online, but, people locally. That's so important, man. Just find out who your neighbors are and, see if you can at least exchange phone numbers in case your critters get out or maybe something happens when you're gone. They might be more inclined to say, oh, maybe I'll call them. You know, looks like something's going on down there, you know. But if you're fucking like blinders on and you don't even talk to the person and they live right next to you, why should they extend the olive branch? Somebody has to be the bigger person, you know. And I've tried to do that around here. You know, I put out that poll, and again, I didn't get shit for putting out this poll when I was asking, you know, what are your biggest challenges? But some people had put up, you know, neighbors are their challenges, and I can feel that, man. You know, that's why it's kind of, it would be better not to have any neighbors where you didn't have to look at anybody at all. But
well, when we moved here, one of the neighbors allowed us to put our cows up on their property because they had a lot of grass, and so they needed that to be eaten down.
mm-hmm.
So there was another neighbor whom we sort of knew but didn't know, and I really miss her. But anytime anything would happen to the cows that were not on our property, and she thought there was something wrong going on, I always got a call from her. I'm not even sure how she got my telephone number.
People know.
But yeah, she would say, hey, there's an ATV up there riding around. And I'd have to say, thank you very much. That's me. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was pretty sweet. She kept a good eye on the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. Hey, I wanted to just cover a couple of issues here. This is coming straight out of the great state of California. You know, you guys are probably sick about hearing about California, but there is wackiness that comes from this state. And sometimes it never ceases to amaze me. That's maybe one of the reasons why I've developed a thick skin, is living here, because nothing should surprise you. But California just recently passed a bill, and it was signed by Governor Gavin Newsom this past Thursday. And it was a reparations bill. And it would basically issue a formal apology by the state for human right violations and crimes against humanity on African slaves and their descendants. And I don't know, Rebecca, what do you think of that kind of thing? Do you think that is something that you would support doing, or do you think it's necessary? Do you think that, many people support reparations? What are your thoughts?
There may be people out there that support that. I don't. I think it's a little too late. This is going out to people whom maybe their ancestors or great grandparents or whatnot, but it doesn't directly affect them unless they want to think that it does. But I mean, it really doesn't. That's my feeling.
Right. Yeah, I think it's an unfortunate thing to keep bringing up, quite honestly. Slavery, everybody knows that wasn't such a great period of our history, but it doesn't really do good things for, relations in this country to keep bringing up shit like this and making it such a divisive issue. Where does it end, really? I guess that's my question. Yeah, it was bad. It wasn't cool. We shouldn't have, in this country had that happen, but it did. And let's just fucking move on and quit picking the scab to keep reopening the wound. And let's try to heal from it. And the way that you heal from it isn't by doing something like this, which is essentially meaningless, by, we're going to put this plaque down at the thing and whatever. That's fine. But the problem is that, this won't go away. They're going to continually try to, make it a monetary issue. They've already tried this year to roll out like 14 other bills that got shot down to the tune of about $900 billion, they were suggesting, that get paid out to descendants of African slaves or whatever. And so, who's going to be entitled to this money? And it's just a waste. It obviously got shot down because California has a budget deficit of about $70 billion. So, that's not going to happen. That was basically laughed out, but this was their fix to put something like this forth, this Assembly Bill 3089. And Yeah, I don't support this type of activity at all. But apparently there's people that actually do. I find it kind of comical. Let's take a look at this one little video and just see how some people are thinking.
I think it's just another tool to try to divide people.
Of course.
As well.
Of course. I think that's largely what it is. It's a way to pander to a particular constituency group. It's a way to make those that were the people that perpetrated this, I guess, white Europeans to feel in some way, oh, we've done something that we need to pay for or whatever. But, again, this is shit that just needs to people like move on. It's not even worth. But this is what we're dealing with in California. But understand, this is how some people actually think when they do a little man on the street. Now, these people are half retarded. So I don't think this is the majority of people by any stretch. They're going to find the outliers, right? This isn't everybody, but it's amazing to think that people are doing this, but it's kind of comical. Check it out.
Reparations for black people because they went through slavery?
Yes, I do actually.
Perfect. So we have Joel here, and you can pay your reparations right now.
Okay.
How much do you want?
What is the suffering of my ancestors worth?
More than I can pay right now.
So do you want to set up like a payment plan?
No, but I do believe it's the responsibility of our government to take more action.
All right, pay up.
Thank you for paying for the crimes of your ancestors. You have been forgiven.
I don't know how you would go about doing that.
Well, I have the answer. We have Joel Patrick here today, and he has his reparations jar. And you can pay for the current. What other forms of payment do you accept?
We accept Venmo. We accept PayPal.
Well, I do not have Venmo. I do not have PayPal. And I am broke.
But you would pay if you could.
Yeah, but I don't understand why you're collecting money.
Because I'm a black person and my ancestors were slaves.
Yeah, but it's like I don't understand what a monetary.
Have you ever owned slaves?
No, but I do not.
Have I ever been a slave?
No.
So how much money do you owe?
Nothing.
Ding, ding, ding.
There you go. But it's pretty interesting, like the guy had it all figured out that, oh, well, the government should, do something. Well, who's the government, idiot? They're just taking money from the people to pay for the shit. So if you're in favor of it, you should be the first person to put your money in the jar. But I don't know. It's an interesting thought that, yeah, we should just steal from other people that actually don't support this idea and want to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty weak. Yeah, Bill. And Bill says that I go figure crazy things happen in California. I moved to Tennessee from northwestern Oregon. Yeah, Oregon has got its own issues, right? Eastern Oregon's pretty conservative, pretty nice out there, but you get, closer to the coast, Portland and, that kind of thing. It's very, very, one way. Yeah, I don't know, Bill. It says, he asks, how do these things actually help the atrocity that happened during slavery? I realize that I'm not an ignorant white guy. Can anyone help me understand this? Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, I think it's just a way to, as Rebecca said, to divide people. It's a way to make people feel guilty for sins of the past, if you will. And it's always going to be just this issue.
It's not the here and now.
Yeah.
That's something that happened, a long time ago.
Right. Now, granted, like a lot of other groups have been discriminated against. Now, they weren't slaves. They weren't, brought over here on a boat and, forced to just work in plantations and have no dignity. They weren't treated in that way, but you do have the Native Americans that were slaughtered, and there were massacres that went on there. And so what do we go there and we pay them reparations too? I don't know where something like that ends. The Japanese with internment camps, and there was a lot of shit that went on that was not cool, but it's not really worth bringing it up in the sense of where does it ever end? Because we'll never heal from it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I think it's something that you can acknowledge that it happened and as part of our history, but let's let's move on. But the good news is that if you vote for Kamala, right, she's somebody who's actually in favor of that, believe it or not. And, if you don't believe me, you can listen to this. Audio might be a little low, but check it out.
In the area of reparations for descendants of Africans enslaved. If you elected president, would you sign that bill if it came across your desk?
When I am elected president, I will sign that bill.
There you go. There you go. Hog says, oh, I get it. Using other people's money to pay. But just mine. Just mine. Oh, but not just mine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy. Yeah. It's pretty incredible, man, when you go up into those areas. We were actually down in Sonoma County, and place we used to live. And it's a beautiful part of the state. Quite honestly, it is. It's rolling grass, oak woodland, very temperate, like a Mediterranean type climate. They get very good weather. It's a very good wine growing region. That's why there's so much vineyards and grapes that come out of Sonoma and Napa counties because of their weather and, soil conditions and all of that. But we happen to go through Healdsburg, which is just north of a town we used to live in. And boy, is it upscale, man. I'm telling you, if you want to go someplace, and I don't mean upscale in the sense that, it's like, it's just kind of a hometown feel.
Mm-hmm.
And there was people just out eating dinner, dining outside, and nice local shops. And, you don't feel like you're going to be fucking accosted by a hobo. And, some of the other places in California, you definitely have that vibe, right? And you just don't have that in that particular community. And it was just nice to go there and see that, right?
It was. And it's also one of those places that has the water bowls out in front of the stores for the dogs or.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dogs.
Nice.
I was going to say cats, but I'll say dogs.
Nice little community, because I know that there's a lot of people that, California, it's fucking, whatever. And yeah, there's places that are like not cool, but that was a nice little community. And most of that area, you just don't see the hobos like you do in some of the other places in California. They're there. I think down in Santa Rosa, there's a couple places or whatever, but you just don't see them in the abundance like you do, in that I-5 corridor that you're referring to, Bill, up there in Portland and Seattle. And you drive through there and you're just like, your jaw drops. You're like, where am I? What is this? So
I don't think I saw any graffiti either.
No, it's real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Real nice. They're doing a good job of keeping it nice. And it's just nice to have a place where you can go to a park and there's not, you don't feel like you're threatened or whatever. And,
right.
There's places to go and eat and entertain and everything. But, so what do you think of, the issue about, I saw this video, and this is, again, my Muslim buddy, and I don't agree with this dude on this particular issue, because I get the sense, and I don't know this for a fact because I'm not in their culture, but I get the sense that Muslim women don't have nearly the rights as most women do that are in more of a freer, less Sharia law type of an environment. So I don't agree with his thoughts on this, but he did bring up some points I hadn't really considered. And I wanted to play this because I wanted to talk about some of the body image issues that exist, not only in this, country, but just around the world in general. And it's an interesting thing to think about, the dichotomy between how the women in some of those cultures, right? Muslim cultures are dressed as opposed to how they're dressed here. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, Rebecca, and anybody else that might have some thoughts, chime in.
women because they embody the antidote for the poisonous narrative that the West has always maintained about women. And they're afraid that women will catch on. They're afraid that their own women will start to realize that they don't deserve to be stripped down in public and objectified, that they don't have to suffer all these body image issues, the eating disorders, the depression, the anxiety over whether or not they can fit into a tight dress or a short skirt to conform with societal expectations. They're afraid that Muslim women will make their own women question their own self-objectification, and then the party will be over. That's what they're worried about. And they're not wrong. Women convert to Islam twice as much as men. That's that many more women whose bodies you won't be able to consume with your eyes anymore. That's that many more women who want to be dignified and don't want to be decorations. The West has been at war with women's self-esteem and self-respect and against their value as human beings for as long as anyone can remember, throughout their entire history. And the more so-called liberal it becomes, the more that war intensifies. The more so-called feminism spreads, the more vulnerable and exploited women become. Until you actually start saying that OnlyFans girls are empowered women, feminist role models, because they embrace the norms of sexual objectification to game the system and make money. I'm telling you, you're sick. It's deranged. And the presence of Muslim women in the public sphere in the West undermines all of that. It spreads a cure for a disease that you don't want cured.
So what are your thoughts on that, Rebecca? What he had to say? Is there any validity to what he had to say, or is what's your opinion?
Well, my understanding is that they are, for the most part, completely covered up.
It really depends. I think, it's not like every Muslim woman is wearing the fucking burqa where they look at a little screen. But that does happen over there. And, mostly they're not wearing what, women do over in this country with regard to beauty. There's a different standard of what women are expected to do. What is your thoughts regarding one versus the other?
I think that the Muslim ladies are far too controlled and don't have much of a voice of what they would like or how they would like to dress. I think it's a very strict choice by the male population. I would disagree with him that more women are moving over to the Muslim. I'm not seeing that. I personally am not seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
On our side, unfortunately, there's too much on the internet now telling younger girls, this is how you should look. This is, and with actresses and whatnot, they're just not comfortable enough in their own skin. They're trying to be something they're not, either through Botox or plastic surgery or, implants. And that's just not natural. It's not healthy.
It's not, in my opinion, it's not, but it has been that way like for many, many years, because women have the allure of sexuality and sensuality for men, and they have adorned themselves in many, many cultures for centuries, quite honestly. And, I don't know. I kind of see what he's saying, and I think that there's some validity to it. Like I say, I don't think that that's something I'm saying, that this is to aspire to. I'm just, I just never had thought of that. But there is an issue in this country with regard to women feeling like they need to look like something that they're actually not. They're injecting themselves, like what you're saying. They're,
well, like I said, they're not comfortable in their own skin. They're trying to be something,
right?
Either what they see on the internet or
right.
what they're being told they should look like, or and
what can we do, if anything, as men to lessen the impact on what obviously is a problem for a lot of women, including young girls. I mean, body image issues among teenage girls. So statistically speaking, 53% of American girls are unhappy with their bodies by the time they're age 13. And that increases to 78% by the time they're 17. And 73%, which is 3/4 of teen girls report being self-conscious about their appearance. So this is obviously something that is on the minds of a lot of women. And it's probably, I don't know if it's all they're doing. Is it something that we're responsible for, do you think?
I think it can be with parenting. And like I think we talked about when I was in high school, I swim team all the time. And so for me, there was no need to put on makeup because I swam before school. I had school and I swam after school. So I go through the whole thing. But my mom did say, well, I think it's time for you to start wearing makeup.
Yeah.
I don't know what the need was. And so I was introduced to that a little bit. So some of it, I believe, comes from the parenting.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes from society, whether it's overt or it's very subtle, I think a lot of that comes from society, just in the imagery that is put out there that, hey, this is the standard of beauty. And some countries are far more impacted by that than others. There's other countries I looked into, some of the other countries that don't have that issue or have less of an issue. And women are more comfortable and confident in who they are and what they look like and all of those kind of things. Right. But, it's one of the reasons why I don't think you needed to dye your hair. You didn't need to do that for me, and you did for a while, you did dye your hair or whatever, try to cover up some grays, but that's just a natural state of life, man. If you're lucky enough to make it to get to having gray hair or having some wrinkles or whatever, that's just,
well, I got them, baby.
Well, I know. So do I. But that's just part of aging and it's part of life. And, people should be able to embrace that rather than, trying to uphold to some standard that looks fucking ridiculous when you're, 80 years old and you got blonde hair. That's your choice. But what are you doing that for? You're not fooling anybody.
Right. It would certainly help you age more gracefully. And again, be more accepting. If you didn't color your hair and your grace came in, that's you. And that's how it would be. And you would just learn to accept it.
Right.
It is kind of stark going from, for me, I was kind of a sandy blonde, I guess, for quite some time. And then when I decided not to color my hair and go ahead and let the gray, and again, that was part of the hiking, and I didn't have the option to go get my hair colored. It was accepting that and realizing that this is my true hair color.
Yeah.
And I even today have an occasional person saying, well, you could go color your hair. And my response to it is, do you know how long it's taken me to grow the color out? Yeah. I'm not going to go color my hair.
Right. Yeah, Bill says that the women of today are just trying to meet popular demand of what the media wants to put out there.
Well, and there's filters that they're looking at and they're saying, wow, look at that person just is absolutely gorgeous, but that's not really that person.
Yeah. And that's kind of goes to what I was saying earlier about, if you're totally somebody different, in your public persona, and then you talk to somebody in private and they're completely different, it gives you a different impression of, who you're dealing with. And, I feel, I guess, sorry for the people that can't go out of their house without putting makeup on or whatever. But again, that's their choice. I'm just glad that, I want you to know that that isn't something that I want you to have to feel like you need to do.
Well, thank you. The other day,
you're beautiful just the way you are.
Oh, thank you. The other day, I actually put makeup on and I looked at Eric and I was like, so, and he goes, what?
Yeah.
And I go, hello.
Yeah. Well,
and he's like, what? I go, I put some makeup on for you. He goes, oh, yeah, I noticed. I went, no, you didn't.
No, I told you I didn't notice because you were beautiful no matter what you had on. So I didn't, it was, so anyhow.
But I've never been a person who's wore a lot of makeup. So it's not a great change.
Yeah.
When I do put makeup on.
Right. Yeah. So, Hogs 14 says, bottom line, no one should give a shit what anyone thinks about the looks of another person. Yeah.
Right. It's right here.
I think it's, looks are important to the extent that, it's a person that you're attracted to or whatever. And that's just the way that, the human animal is. We're attracted to those that, for whatever reason, light our fire. Right. But you shouldn't go out of your way to say shit to people that is not your place to say, or make those kind of overt comments, because there's plenty of girls that hear shit like that, like, oh, you're putting on a little bit of weight, or you're doing this, or, don't you think they know that? If they're doing,
They do, but in a family, say it's a family of all girls, every one of those girls can be completely different. And so if the oldest sister is tall and thin, but the next one comes down and she's a little chunkier, a little shorter, and she's looking at her older sister, I mean, again, it comes to the parents to let that child know you're beautiful the way you are. You don't have to look like your sister.
It is, but it's a sliding scale with regard to what is thought of as beautiful, because back in the 1700s, women this is during the antebellum period,
the voluptuous women.
Oh no, I was going to go with this is that they had fucking big foreheads. They actually shaved their heads back. So if you look at pictures of women of that era, they all had their domes like exposed back. So they had like a 6 head, not a 4 head, like a 6 head. Their hairline was shaved back to here. And that was considered a standard of beauty. And then over time, they change more of, as what you were saying, more voluptuous, and those standards change and they continue to evolve. But again, I think it's an interesting thing, because we put that demand on women that's their most important worth, is their appearance, and their cleanliness and their this. And when you look at how men are viewed, they're not, that's very much down in the hierarchy of things that are important for a man. A man, it's confidence. A man, it's, to have assertiveness, to have a self-assuredness of themselves. It's to have certain traits. And then about halfway down, then it's like appearance. But women, it's the number one thing that is of value for women. And it's just an interesting thing. But
I think it's something that's being sold to us as well.
Yeah, but to the point, the women that actually meet that societal standard of beauty are the ones that carry the most weight. I mean, why do you see women who are meeting that standard of beauty, of youth and vitality and beauty, right? You see them with these ugly ass dudes with billions of dollars, right? Yeah. I just saw a picture of the Mark Davis, I guess his name is, from the Raiders. And this dude looks like he's like Jerry's kids. I mean, this kid is like, his eyes are too close together. His hair, he's got this fucking bowl cut. Like he looks like he's one of the like Three Stooges. And he's married to this like 26-year-old hottie. And it's like, it's the currency of women is that beauty. And they can garner, all kinds of things with that.
It's also a form of manipulation.
Well, of course it is, but it's an agreed upon thing. I'm not, it's, good on him and good on her. They can be in whatever relationship they want, but make no mistake about it. If the money wasn't there, she wouldn't be there. Right. And if she wasn't hot,
correct,
she wouldn't be there. So it's a give and take relationship in all relationships. But, I don't know. I just think it's the thing that women have over men, is that beauty, but we've set that standard so that even young girls are now looking at, I need to try to meet this so I can be successful, and I just think that's an interesting dynamic that isn't like one that we should aspire to.
It's the eyelashes that crack me up. You see the eyelashes and they're like way, way, way too long.
For who?
To be normal. They're like super thick and really long. You've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill Warner says Photoshop is a magician to make appearances wonderful. I fell in love with a very simple woman, and I'm blessed. The closer I get to nature, the further away from idiots I get. Physical appearance fades. That's great, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's really like, yeah, words of wisdom, I suppose, right?
Yeah, it's really what's inside, the person's personality, and it shouldn't be the outside.
Well, I don't know. I guess I only wanted to bring that up just because of, what that guy said about, how we do things here in the West. And, that's not just the West. It's like that globally. It's just in their culture, they fucking put hoods over women until you don't have to look at them and objectify their bodies. There's something to be said for that. However, I don't think that that's anything that we should try to aspire to or say, oh, well, this is the way we should go. I think that that's completely the wrong thing to do to women. And I bet if most of them had their choice, they'd probably say, yeah, we're not cool with this.
That's good, because I wouldn't wear a hood.
No, I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, the true beauty does come from the person within. Skanes chiming in says, I had to explain to my daughter she was never going to be what I call toothpick people like her friends. She's almost 6 feet tall and big boned.
6 feet tall. Wow.
Yeah. That's
I'll never experience that.
That's tall for a girl.
That is.
Yeah, it's probably
See, I would say she's very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Being tall for sure. Yeah, it's I don't know. I just thought I'd kind of bring that up. HRDs, how are you? Good to see you this evening. And Bill Zegley's in the house. Yeah. How's things going out your way, Bill Zegley? I know Tennessee's like got impacted by that. So hope everybody in your immediate vicinity and network is doing well. And, again, our thoughts are with the folks out there dealing with the hurricane. So
my grandma was 4'11", so I'm feeling special being 5'2".
You're big time.
Yeah.
William Zegley says, very blessed, got 76 bales of clean straw. Now for hot wire and electric fencing, then sheep. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's sheep or something, trying to keep them in. Better make it a hot wire and get them trained before they figure out, how to get underneath it. Bill Warner, both of my daughters are what's considered Midwest corn-fed and two very beautiful women. Yeah, I think that's important, man. Just like people need to, just embrace people for who they are, and accept them for who they are instead of trying to, because I've seen video after video of women being, had nasty shit said to them. And that kind of stuff makes and leaves a mark, and that's one of the reasons why you have people in their older years still feeling like they need to meet some kind of a societal standard of beauty when, just being gracefully aging, as Rebecca put it, that's beauty enough, quite honestly. And like I say, I'm stoked you got gray hair.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good on you. Skanes girl says, I think it's true of men also. I have dated some real hotties that weren't assholes and became totally unappealing. And I have dated guys who mostly wouldn't think much of those beauty inside made them some of the most handsome men I have ever known. Huh. Yeah. So let's see here. Let's talk about.
Actually,
go ahead.
With body image.
Uh-huh.
When I was in high school, there weren't a whole bunch of girls that you noticed who were like anorexic or anything. We had one and she was a friend, and we all had lunch, and it was kind of a trip watching her. eat her lunch. She didn't really eat. She'd had a sandwich in front of her that she just kind of like picked at. And I think to maybe make it look like she's eating, she was so terribly skinny. And I hate to see that happen to young girls.
It's like something that doesn't happen in like other indigenous cultures. You don't see like this kind of thing happening, right? You know, you don't see, oh, I'm vegan. Oh, I'm this or I'm that. You know what? You're going to fucking eat dinner because this is what dinner is.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not going to be like, oh, I've got these body image issues. You know, you're just a normal person. So you look at these tribal people, they all look super healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the old ones are still kicking it, and they're pretty healthy.
Well, and we all have
clean eating. It's not like they don't have all this mental baggage that they're dealing with, you know? And so I don't know. It's just an interesting thing, man, that we've like wrapped ourselves into.
It's like chasing a dream you're never going to catch.
Yeah. 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 Bill says that he's doing great. Only heavy rain, but there was some serious kimchi, both north and east, especially Asheville got the snockers kicked out of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've been hearing that about Asheville. Again, I don't really know the area. But obviously a lot of people are going to be impacted. You know, I think it went through like 4 states, you know, tropical storm stuff and, you know, all the rain and everything. And so Bill Warner says the elder English referred to the way American women look at themselves as mutton dressed as lamb. Huh. Yeah. Yes, you're exactly right, Scanes, that other cultures, in fact, this culture earlier on, it was thought that, you know, that was a sign of wealth. You were well-to-do if you were Rubenesque, if you had a voluptuous figure, because you weren't starving, right? You didn't have scurvy. It showed that you were, you know, healthy. And so it's just interesting how standards of beauty has changed. And you know, it's not getting any better with social media and the expectation that it's placed upon, you know, the youth to try to conform to. And then, you know, like you said, with filters and everything. So I don't know. It's just an interesting kind of maybe topic to talk about a little bit. Yeah. Okay. One other thing I wanted to talk about in California, and then we'll move on and get to the final thing we're going to talk about. But a few years ago, remember we had a ban that was no plastic bags in California, and they got everybody switched over to basically, you know, first they said, you know, we're going to make you pay for a bag. It's like 5 cents a bag or some shit. And then, you know, people stopped doing that and basically started bringing their own bags. They were these like sewn, you know, cloth bags or whatever. And we kind of got in the habit of it. And it was kind of actually not bad, right? Where you would just take your bags into the store and then load your shit up. And they were actually better than the plastic bags. So we had these like cloth bags that were reusable, right?
Well, some were cloth, some were a very thick that you actually could buy in the store, and it's 10 cents a bag.
Okay.
That they were selling a plastic bag for, or a paper bag, regardless, if you used theirs.
Yeah. So nonetheless, anyhow, that's something that they did in California. Most people were switched over to it. And we were like, you know, essentially like, hey, this is the new normal, if you will. And people weren't all freaked out about it, right? Because anytime there's change, people freak out and then it's like normal, right? After a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, COVID came. And they're like, oh, you can't be bringing in your bags because they might be contaminated. So we're going to start giving you fucking plastic bags again, amazingly, right? And so we went back on the plastic bag scene. But recently, we're back on this lunacy yet again. So check it out.
Politics strikes yet again as the #1 clown show in the nation, because Governor Newsom just signed a bill into law in California that bans plastic bags in all grocery stores and retailers. And this is so stupid, right? How is this our number one priority? Our kids are uneducated, our food is crap, our energy costs are really high, we have illegal immigration flowing into this country, and the number one thing that we need to focus on is making sure that people can't get a plastic bag when they have tons of groceries that they're purchasing at the store. And this is something that Gavin Newsom did when he was mayor of San Francisco in 2007, was he enacted the first ban on plastic bags. This is one big environmentalist virtue signal. It's a complete joke. And his priorities were out of place too when he was, still in San Francisco, because there's a video of him and Kamala Harris saying that they can go into people's houses and just take their guns. So, gun grabbing policies, bag grabbing policies, they don't want to protect us law-abiding citizens. That's what I've learned about this state in California. And what they're doing in Washington, D.C., they're letting the rest of the nation become corrupted exactly like this. It's despicable.
Well, there you go, man. Preach on.
So when we had the COVID and they went back to, you had to use their bags because if you brought your own, well, let me correct that. You could take your own, but you had to bag your own groceries because they refused to touch them. Or they would give you your plastic bag and they would bag your groceries, but you still had to pay for the bag.
Yeah.
It was still 10 cents a bag.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they like me very much because I say, just leave it in the cart, get your little thing and just click, 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 click. I don't need your bag. And I didn't bring one for home either.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty sad, man. Some of this stuff, but you kind of have to just roll with the punches. You can't get too wound around the axle on it. Cause there's not really anything you're going to be able to do about that. Yeah, we could pull up stakes and move to another state, and run from our problems here in California, I guess, but we've chosen not to do that. We're just going to hang out and enjoy the clown show and, report to you all sane people who are elsewhere what's really going on. Because again, what happens here in California winds up going other places eventually. So suffice to say, yeah. Yeah, that guy, man, he was kind of funny, that little kid. He seemed to look like a kid, but he's talking like he's some adult or something, but that's cool. He was preaching. I appreciated it. Let's see. So I wanted to get to this last topic we were going to talk about this evening. And there's a percentage of people that don't believe the American dream is actually still possible. And says that 53% of Americans believe that the American dream is still possible. However, in a different poll, and it's an ABC News poll, that found that only 27% of Americans think the American dream still holds true. And, they were saying that the American dream is widely recognized. It's a widely recognized ideal that represents the belief that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve success and upward mobility through hard work and determination. So, what do you think, Rebecca? Is the American dream still possible? Or do we first need to define what the American dream is? I think that actually kind of encapsulated it there in that last sentence. But what do you think? Is it still alive and well?
I think the American dream is still alive and well. And I think it's what you make it. What you do with your life helps you achieve to your American dream. For us, I would say we're living the American dream. We've paid off everything. We have a beautiful house. We have each other. We have successful children. What more could you ask? We have beautiful grandchildren. And that personally makes me happy.
Yeah, I think, you hit the nail on the head, I guess, really, because the American dream is so individually defined by everyone, right? It doesn't necessarily have to revolve around, monetary accumulation or, material possessions. That doesn't equate to the American dream because it's individual for everybody. I've often thought that, I look at the amount of money or whatever, the financial success that we've achieved. And then other people would look at that and they would say that, I'm in fucking poverty. But again, it's just the lens from which you're looking at that person, right? And so somebody that's living in a box or under a bridge would probably be feeling like they hit the lottery if they had $10,000. You know, what I could do with 10 grand, or whatever.
They'd probably be happy with $10.
They probably wouldn't do the right thing with it because they've made poor choices to live under a bridge to begin with. So they wouldn't probably follow through on that. But again, my point being that it's all based on perspective. You wouldn't necessarily need to have, if that person was making $30,000, they would probably be able to do quite well if they got their shit together, with regard to how they're spending their money.
Right.
Right. I guess that's my only point, but I think it's absolutely achievable.
But there are people out there that are trying to chase other people's dreams, which is beyond their means, and they'll never meet their American dream.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. People have to just know what they want out of life and then realize it is entirely up to you to execute that. Everything that you do in life, I think, is a result of decisions you've made. Good or bad, it comes down to you made your decision to put yourself there. But so many people, I think, want to look to others to either find a solution for them or to say that's the reason why they aren't succeeding
or blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, they're not succeeding because I don't have the time to do this, or I don't, no, you haven't made the time to do this, right? Or, I wish I had that. Well, if you wished you had it bad enough, you would probably actually do something to execute to make sure that you had that in your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, did you have anything else you wanted to say on the American dream? Because I think we're all, in a sense, living the American dream, right?
We are because we're living the choices that we've made. So that is your American dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel good about it. And I hope other folks out there are, living your guys' dream too, man. I mean, what else can we do?
Right. If you've got your health.
Yeah. Best prep you can have. So anyhow, guys, let me get on this last question here and then we're going to probably bounce. But Bill says that the word the average person is trying to keep up with the Jones. The American dream is an individual's goals and is achievable. Yeah, that's very well, well said, man. I just hope people realize that, quite honestly, because I think that there's so much negativity out there all the time. And there's so much to glom onto that is completely ridiculous. And so much of it we can't really do anything about. But find what works for you. Find what makes you, fulfilled in life. And there's just so much out there, man. I feel blessed every day. I do. I mean, it sounds like I'm just saying something that's very hyperbolic, but it's just, that's the way I feel. To have the ability to go outside of this house and to be outside in nature is something that people in a lot of places don't have. And just the simplest of things like that, if you can understand, how important that is to be able to do. And that's just a fraction of what you have to do to make your life better and to achieve the things you want in life. Man, if you put your mind to it, there's nothing you can do, nothing you can't do, right? Well, there's plenty you can't.
There's probably some things out there you can't do.
There's plenty of things we can't do, right? I'm not going to be able to, fly, flap my arms or whatever. But,
although you'd like to.
Oh, I would love to be a bird.
Keeps trying to get me to do those body suits, or what are those called?
Wingsuit.
Wingsuit.
Yeah.
Forget it. It's not happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either, but it's cool to see, and it would be quite the sensation. But, Yeah. That's your average every day.
I'm pretty sure I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get out, guys. We've been on for quite a while and we're starting to ramble here. So unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, we are going to call it an evening. But I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us and hanging out while we were here, spending a little bit of time with you, sharing some thoughts and, keeping it real.
I'm going to say this.
Mhm.
We didn't hear anything from anybody, so we're assuming nobody tried the flatbread,
Mhm.
but we did have it this weekend and we had burgers.
Mhm.
They were awesome.
And we're going to have it tonight in lasagna, right?
That's right. They will be the
Yeah.
noodles.
Yeah. Oh man, thanks, London. Good night to you too, man. And hope things are well with you and yours. And Bill said, I was a runner for many years. I shattered my tibial plateau and was put it into that. That sucks, man. Because it is like a gift for me. I mean, it really is. You know, people might not understand it, but you know, just being able to go out there and explore in mountains and be alone just with my thoughts and be in that moment like I talked about earlier and just think about things and process. That's an important thing to do, man. You don't have to be running to do that, but just go out somewhere and sit underneath a tree and just try to be there and just like think about whatever you want to think about. Let your mind go. And, find something that, is your special time to, go out and do that. It's fucking huge, man. I'm telling you, it's very cleansing.
Yeah. I would say that typically running is not my first choice. However, I did run for you.
A couple of years ago, now you're running for you. So you're crushing it.
Here's the thing. I was 10 years younger and was running and doing the ultra marathons with him. However, once I decided to take it back up, I'm actually running better now than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah, you're getting your base, man. You're starting to develop a base. And when you do that, then it's just like it just keeps getting better. So, yeah. Well, again, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. And we are going to call it an evening. We got a few things to settle up outside. And then hopefully we'll see you next week. We'll see what we have on tap for you. Tonight was kind of a little impromptu thing. Again, I wasn't sure we were going to come on because we'd been gone all weekend and we were still in recovery mode from the trip. But boy, let me tell you, just getting away for a weekend, being away from the homestead and, spending some time away from the media and everything else going on in the world. Will do you a world of good. So again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for dropping in with us and have a great evening.
Okay, good night.